I have an announcement to make. I will be incorporating an arbitrary rating system for all future reviews, as well as retroactively rating the films I've covered so far, which I will do later in this video, to give a baseline of what to expect moving forward. But first, I wanted to give a brief word about the nature of using a rating system. I personally have a lot of bad experiences in regards to others applying an objective numerical value to works of art, and I wanted to make clear my intentions when it comes to rating movies and TV series. My opinion comes from my experience as an amateur filmmaker, as well as over a decade of identifying as a hardcore cinephile. That being said, I am only one person, and my opinion is subjective, just as is the nature of art itself. Some critics use ratings as a way to inflate their own ego and pass judgment on other people's hard work. There's a saying, those who can't critique, and I find this too often to be true. It's way too easy to shit on something when you have no experience in that field yourself, and instead of building yourself up, you seek to tear others down and discredit their work. Intellectual elitists love to point to their favorite critics as a way of toxic gatekeeping, and the arbitrary ratings they reference are often the nail in the coffin of open-minded discussion. There's movies that are poorly received by critics that I love. There's movies with 99% on Rotten Tomatoes I personally don't enjoy. If I give a movie 1 out of 5 stars, and it happens to be your favorite movie, I in no way wish to invalidate your opinion. Every movie, no matter how bad it is someone's favorite, and all of our opinions are valid. We are dealing with the world of subjective art. Sure, there are certain objective standards we can use as a baseline for critique, but these will only go so far, as a person's personal experience when receiving the art often plays just as much of a role in the perceived quality as the actual workmanship incorporated into its creation. What I'm saying is, don't take my opinion too literally, and please don't reference my ratings when you want to prove to someone that the movie they love is bad. Better yet, just don't have that argument. Life is chaotic and full of misery. Can't we just let live and allow each other to enjoy whatever art they want? That being said, why would I introduce a rating system at all? Well, I thought it would be a more elegant way to finalize my thoughts and quantify my thesis at the end of each video. It could also be a helpful metric for my viewers if they are looking for recommendations, as well as making the videos more entertaining and promoting engagement. It's just something all critics do, but I want to make clear what my intentions are. The last thing I want to do is to discourage any artist or enjoyers of art. If I give a film 5 out of 5 stars, I am not saying it is objectively better than a movie I give 3 out of 5 stars. Different movies have different goals, operate in different genres, and therefore have different obstacles to overcome. Comparing any two movies is always going to be like comparing apples to oranges. It's like saying, hey, you can jump better than that guy can run. It's an abstract concept rating art, applying objectivism to the subjective. So just keep all that in mind moving forward. The one exception I have, however, is if a movie seems to have some sort of malintent. Like if a film portrays negative stereotypes about a group of people in an attempt to dehumanize them and promote hate. This sort of thing is objectively bad, and it's not art either, it's propaganda. All that being said, let's rate some fucking movies. So the first film I reviewed on this channel was Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon. Despite the tangent I just gave about being negative and shitting on other people's art, I'm gonna give Raya and the Last Dragon only 2 out of 5 stars. In my full review, I did recommend watching this film, but what I meant by that was, if this is the type of movie you typically enjoy, you'll probably enjoy this one too. I'd also say this is a decent choice for something to throw on if you have kids, given its themes of introspection and female representation. However, the entire conceit of the film doesn't really work in my opinion, and the movie kind of folds in on itself as the screenwriters were not willing to take the steps, or rather make the sacrifices, that would have been necessary to sell the message of the film. I personally am not a fan of the Pixar animation style that Disney has co-opted, nor am I a fan of the recent trend in films established by the Marvel Cinematic Universe to make every character crack wise at every chance possible. This movie is saturated with way too much humor, and most of it I don't find funny. I mean, come on guys, every single one of Raya's companions plays the role of comedic relief. Do we really need Raya herself, and especially the antagonist Namari, also firing off quips every chance they get? This sort of writing seems to assume its audience couldn't possibly stay invested in a single moment without there being jokes constantly shoehorned in every goddamn second. This movie follows a lot of modern trends that I feel are destroying the integrity of contemporary cinema. So it's hard to give Raya and the Last Dragon any more than 2 out of 5 stars. Still though, the character Noi the Con Baby is pretty funny, and the movie has some noble intentions, just not the guts to properly execute them. The second film I reviewed was The Golden Compass. I love this movie. I find it to be a unique standout for its genre that takes a lot of risk other movies wouldn't dare to, and this ultimately hurt the film as it was boycotted by several religious institutions. The main character is charmingly portrayed, and it builds a unique world that I would love to spend more time in. However, I gotta be honest and acknowledge the many shortcomings of the film. It has some significant issues with pacing that, while unavoidable given the source material and restrictions set in place by studio execs, still hamper the viewing experience. The last third of the movie just doesn't look good, with lifeless, drab settings masked in snow and shadow that severely limit the visuals. So I'm giving The Golden Compass 3 out of 5 stars. By my metric, this is a good score. It's an above-average film, worthy of an above-average rating. I really wanted to give it at least 3.5, but I have to be as objective as I can and honest with myself about the whole of the experience. It's a flawed movie, but still a damn good one, and I highly recommend you check it out. Next up is Aragon. Oh god, fuck this movie. 1 out of 5 stars. Okay. Like I said earlier, every movie, no matter how bad, is someone's favorite. If your thing is stories about a boy and his dragon, and you absolutely love this film, hey, good for you, man. Maybe even reach out to the creators and let them know. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. For myself, the only quality this film has is its ability to be hate-watched. It's pretty damn funny just how bad it is, and so for that, it earns itself a star in my book. Plus, Jeremy Irons is hot as fuck. 5 stars! JK, 1 star, moving on. Alright, that brings us to my most recent review, The Spiderwick Chronicles. I really like this movie, and I feel strongly it has a lot to offer. I so desperately want to give it 4 stars, but I find myself feeling that 3.5 stars is the appropriate rating. I mean, there's not much negative I had to say about it, but it's just a shame they relied so heavily on that mid-2000s CGI that does not age very well. I mean, given the design of the creatures and the environment, it would have been the perfect opportunity to use at least some practical effects. Characters could have been portrayed by little people or puppeteers. The toe goblins could have been covered in that classic glossy goo every horror movie had in the 80s. At least some practical approaches to the effects could have gone a long way. My other issue with this movie is the humor. It's totally okay, in fact a welcome change of pace, that there just isn't much in the movie. But what jokes we do get are pretty mediocre, and most of the humor just comes from the various voice actors riffing. Seth Rogen is funny as hell, but he doesn't have much material here to work with besides riffing on how he likes to eat birds. I hate to be so critical of a movie I really do love, a movie I'll probably watch again someday as I force some of my friends to begrudgingly watch it. 3.5 stars is still a really good score, and out of the 4 movies I've discussed so far, this one I recommend the most. Alright, there you have it folks. You know the drill. Like the video, subscribe to my channel. No, seriously, please give the video a like, or even a comment. Boost this shit up in the algorithm. You can comment a recommendation for a film you want to see me review in the future, or you could just state how my opinion is wrong. Not gonna argue with you there. My opinion is wrong, but it's also right. Art is an abstract paradox, and therefore so is any discussion of art. Nothing is real. We are all but specks of dust in the endless void of space. I like movies. Jeremy Irons is hot.